As we hop into Champion Select, and it's going to be Azir and Rek'Sai taken off the board straight away, and pretty self-explanatory, really.
And I think you're right in that people have strong things to say about Pokemon. He's shown himself to be a very capable, safe top laner, usually playing that Maokai that's what he's shown the most proficiency with. This series is going to tell us a lot about Pokemon, though, just because you're sending him up against Koro.
Yeah.
A person who in 20...
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are onto the Rift with Invictus Gaming taking on Edward Gaming. Apologies for the slight errors there, but we are into this one, and it is very, very early on. Pokemon and Koro now just bashing one another at level 1. Flame Spitter doing some work here for Pokemon. Doesn't want to take too much, but let's have a look over the lineups in this early stage of the game, as there isn't too much invading going on apart from these top laners whacking one another. But Pokemon on this rumble against Koro, who managed to pick up that Gnar. You did mention the fact that Koro has shown a lot of prowess on that one, and as Khalilov comes around on this Nunu just to walk up and steal this Gromp with a smite, which is going to do Deft aggressively rocket jumping in. There's the flash, actually. Could this possibly be first blood? It is. Deft picks up that one with a flash.
Yeah, he still had access to the reset on the rocket jump there, so could play so aggressively. And we should comment that there is the Rumble Jarvan synergy coming out from IG right here. Fizz in the mid lane, Corki AD carry, and finally Nami on support.
And EDG pulling a bit of a leaf out of Starhorn Royal Club's old book and picking up a gigantic Raise the Puppy comp with the Blood Boil from Nunu, the shields from Janna, and of course that wild growth from Pawn on this Lulu, not to mention his shields. This is going to be a huge Tristana in the late game, and who better to play it out than Deft?
Absolutely. I mean, Deft is known as a massive late game carry, and of course picking up an early kill on Tristana right here will only accelerate that power spike that will be seen when we see the big 380 carry items coming through there. So you're correct. We're seeing a lot more of this mid Lulu right here, despite all the nerfs. Still very adept at countering these assassins that are so in the meta right here. And assuming he can stay even in level, it's going to be very hard for Rookie to DPS down a Lulu with ultimate.
Exactly right. As we have a look over the lineup of Invictus Gaming here, they have managed to pick up that Rumble Jarvan combination for so much early game pressure, as well as Kid being on this Corki. It seems that both of these teams have very clear win conditions, and we'll see who manages to make this one work out. EDG really wanting to stall it to that late game where they get this monster Tristana, whereas Invictus Gaming, they want to fight as soon as possible.
And Kid has been one of the Corkis who can regularly understand Corki's power spike and really exploit it in the mid game. Of course, once that Trinity Force and Sorcerer's Shoes is completed on Corki, he can group and push down structures with impunity, and Kid has been one of the best performing AD carries in the whole of the LPL. Someone who's always been in the upper echelon of marksmen, of AD carries, but really never been considered top 1 or top 2, has been really staking his claim to be right up there this season.
He certainly is. We actually had a discussion amongst ourselves, and Kid was definitely one of our top choices for AD carry in the Chinese scene at the moment, where there is just such a pedigree for these type of players.
Definitely. So Pokemon's really struggling for CS after falling in that early kill. Just picks up his second CS right there, but it's a 1v1 in bottom, and that means the ranged top laner Koro is doing just fine.
Yeah, and Pokemon actually, with the wave moving opposite of his direction, a little bit dangerous you might say, but putting a little bit of pressure on Deft to farm under that tower as well, which can be a little bit difficult for the likes of Tristana, who have that explosive shot. But you can see CS very even across our AD carries despite the lane swap.
And Kid's going to be very happy in a 1v1 lane just because Corki was always traditionally, even, you know, we're talking way back here when we used to see the AD carries in the mid lane. Corki was one of those champions that scales with both levels and items. So to be able to pick up the solo lane farm, but also going to have easy access to items in the mid game, it just accelerates that mid game spike for Corki.
And we haven't actually mentioned the mid lane too much coming on the side of Invictus Gaming. Rookie back on the Mega Assassin in Fizz, and we saw him very early on in the LPL playing that champion to great effect despite having a rough laning phase, really coming through on top.
Both Rookie and Pawn have been excellent Fizz players right here, so that's why I trust Pawn to have a champion that can deal with this Fizz and this Fizz pressure in the mid lane. So picking up that Lulu, Cool did the same thing against a LeBlanc pickup, so it still has a lot of anti-all-in potential, does that Lulu mid.
And we'll just see whether it has the late game damage potential, which was sort of what fell apart for Lulus that we've seen in the past. But we've also seen Lulus in the LPL just recently doing quite well and picking up that Lich Bane, having a lot of damage as well with that added AP ratio, the added scaling.
I mean, make no mistake, it's all about deft when it comes to EDG's damage this game.
Yeah. And do you think it's a little bit dangerous to have one of these comps where if deft does get singled out, and he definitely can be with the likes of Kakao on this Jarvan and of course Pokemon having such a long range equalizer to really get the explosive damage down, is it going to be enough, this protection that he has so far in the EDG lineup? I
think you write off deft at your peril. I think he's such a wonderful late game carry that if this game goes even or better for EDG, I'm going to ignore the obvious damage fall off from Pawn. I mean, Koro will still do relevant damage in a team fight, of course. Some high base damage is coming onto those abilities in Mega Gnar form, but if you're ever going to choose a carry to really raise up, Uzi's maybe your first choice, but Deft's not too far behind.
Yeah, and this is something we were actually meaning to talk about as well, as the fact that EDG, they did pick up Pawn, they replaced you here. As there is a fight towards the top side of the map, it is going to be Pokemon falling down as this Dragon gets started. Pokemon just getting dived under that turret. Clearlove just capitalizing on that one, but Invictus Gaming with a good trade.
Yeah, early 4-man rotation top. It swaps with an early Dragon, so they're not actually going to be able to pick up this turret as far as I can tell, so you have to say Invictus Gaming actually picks up the advantage in that situation.
Yeah, Invictus Gaming definitely making full use of a bad situation, you have to admit. Pokemon did have that teleport available as well, so can get back to the top lane quickly if he wants to, but decides just to run back up there because of the position of the wave. And Rookie taking some harassment from Pawn, but has a CS advantage.
And realistically, Pawn's just going to clear waves and try and get as many free autos under turret as Rookie tries to CS. That's basically how Lulu versus melee matchups go in the mid lane. It's just a question of whether Pawn can exert enough team fight pressure and also lane pressure to force Rookie to be honest and stay in the mid lane, or whether Rookie can start snowballing in other lanes.
Yeah, and Clearlove are now with another steal of that blue buff. And Kakao really struggling to find any of his jungle left, to be perfectly honest. He's setting up a little bit of a camp up here in the top lane. They do not want Pokemon to get going, and I really like this strategy. Make sure you delay the power of that equalizer as much as possible, as Koro goes aggressive here on the top side of the map. Pawn's coming in as well. He's got the wild growth available should he need it. There's the absolute zero, and Clearlove cares absolutely zero.
It's basically singling out a champion that really needs to get levels to pick up a level 6 power spike and take Dragon, but it's also really singling out the weakest, or at least the perceived weakest player on Invictus Gaming. So I do like this target selection, like you say. Keep down the person who might be the biggest confidence player, that might be the player who needs his team to really keep him in check, because Pokemon's struggling this game.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad that you ignored my absolute worst joke ever to be made so far. This kid's just trying to farm against Deft. Has actually got a level advantage considering the fact that he did manage to get the solo lane. And we haven't mentioned the fact that Mouse not actually in the EDG lineup this time, as Deft gets caught by an Aqua Prison. So much burst damage, forcing out that Buster Shot.
And it's worth knowing that's so much burst damage, literally without picking up an item. We tab onto gold, 2,450 gold for Kid right here. Still able to do very nice damage to Deft on that Tristana.
Yeah, we're talking about the fact that this Corki does scale very well with levels, and we saw that proven to a T just there.
And yes, as you noted, because we missed out on Champion Select, missed out on mentioning that it isn't Mouse playing at support. It is a different support coming out here. I believe Mako is the name of the support we have right here. Don't know too much about him. No scouting report available just yet, but Mouse looked really good. That's the first thing. Mouse stepped in at the last minute, looked very strong in that support position. Great Annie player. So a lot of Annie coming out from EDG. And now we have the disengaged flavor coming out of Janna.
We'll see if Nico can actually pick up those reins and step into Mouse's shoes, which honestly could be difficult considering the fact that he's had a very good record. untested at this stage. And so far, I mean, Def picking up first blood, definitely working out.
He's going to struggle in the lane matchup, especially once Kid goes and spends his gold. And I guess that's kind of the issue I have with Kid's play right here. Is why not just shop and cement your laning advantage? Why just stay in lane and really not put yourself in a position to really bully out Deft here? Because Deft, he's gone for a very greedy Tristana, but actually going straight for the Infinity Edge, not working towards the Zeal or working towards the Static Shiv that we usually see from Tristana players who want to double down on their early game. It's a very weak choice on a champion that doesn't have any AD ratios.
Invictus game actually setting up there in the bottom lane as Clearlove is going to continue counter jungling as Nunu's likely to do, but there's a Cataclysm in the bottom side of the map. Def gets exhausted. Kid with the flash rocket snipe of Deft in the back line.
Yeah, the Ignite was running there. I think they would have got the kill one way or the other, but getting it onto Kid is so much more optimal. 3,300 gold on Kid right now. And up the top, we've got a turret dive.
Yeah, there's the Absolute Zero coming through yet again. Pawn comes in, picks up the kill. Koro with the wild growth and the transformation is able to survive and just jumps himself over that wall.
That transformation couldn't have happened at a better time. He actually would have died to the last turret hit if not for the extra base health coming out from Mega Gnar. Sometimes they all line up, these health buffs, and you feel great about it.
They certainly do, and that's going to mean Pokemon is getting destroyed up here. There's a 5-class tent being set up from Clearlove, and he's in for the long haul. Of course, you know, when you've got all those sweet amenities, you don't want to leave that tent. It's pretty sweet up there.
And for once, that tent isn't actually in Deft's lane. Of course, those two are friends out of the game. It was the first person he really bonded with on this EDG team, but this time it's Pokemon who's really feeling the wrath of Clearlove's early pathing. I guess the only thing you can say for Pokemon is we're talking about Rumble here, a champion who only needs about 2,500 gold to pick up his 2 Magic Pen items and be team fight relevant. He has a Haunting, guys. He might only be an equalizer bot, but for a one-trick pony, Rumble's probably one of the best of them.
Yeah, that is very true. We'll see whether Pokemon can get those equalizers at the right point, of course. Even having CC, if you don't have any items, I mean, it's still a slow, so it's still doing something.
Still doing something.
But we did talk about the fact that, you know, they may capitalize on the fact that Pokemon hasn't looked like the strongest player here in the LPL in the top lane. And seems like EDG were definitely listening because he's having a definite rough time in this top lane, especially early on.
And it's definitely against the top laner who's been overperforming, if anything, or starting to show that he has a new level of performance in a favorable matchup, no less. So now that they've equalized the matchups, half the CS, huge item discrepancy, and in a bad matchup, if Koro can't carry this one, it's almost a black mark next to his name.
Yeah, well, that's true. And what better to get them to a decent late game situation than to have that Rumble be kept down so much as Cacao going to clear out that ward. He is going to get spotted out though, so EDG probably not going to make any aggressive moves as Clearlove just going to try and take this Scuttle Crab. You can see he's just all over this map at this stage.
So IG, we have to remember, did take that unanswered first dragon right here. The Aqua Prison.
Caught by the Aqua Prison. The Tidal Wave comes in. Valkyrie with a lot of damage. Clearlove's here as well. The teleports are coming in. Absolute Zero doing so much work. Koro picks up the kill. Kitties gets gnarred into the wall at the same time. Pawn's here at the same. And Deft, the only one to fall down for 2.
And Pokemon used his teleport, came to the bomb, but didn't even think to blow the equalizer because he knew there was no semblance of chance whatsoever. He's going to use it for wave clear right here. Might be enough for that. So look, it still does something for EDG. It might slow them down from taking this turret, but a big win from EDG there.
Certainly is. And a little bit unfortunate that Deft fell down, but you can see he did listen to you yet again. Going to be building that static Shiv after the BF.
So we go into the replay. Look at that bubble. It completely denies Deft. He's knocked up a second time. We thought he might live, but of course Kid went very aggressive with Valkyrie. Is going to fall here, of course, to all the incidental damage. And at that point, the Gnar transformation probably wasn't even necessary for Kitties to fall off. They get the double kill right there, but importantly, they aren't able to turn it into a major objective. Dragon is still available, and the bot turret is still up for RG.
It is a nice play, though, as Deft clears out this top wave yet again. And Koro's in a lot of trouble. Flashes out of the way of that Aqua Prison. Ebb and Flow doing a little bit of work, but 4 members. Koro's still happy.
We see Deft is transitioning from top lane right here, because, of course, the dragon is up. They don't want to give away a second dragon here to EDG, and Koro's got a lot of rage.
Yeah, he is about to transform. Kitty's taking a lot of damage. The Wallop comes through, but not going to find its mark as Pokemon gets hit by a rock. And EDG setting up to try and take their first dragon.
Worth knowing that in the mid lane, Deft will push down this mid turret, so that's already an immediate structure win for EDG. They're happy to just push these structures here. They're not rushing towards the dragon because they know despite how far down Pokemon is, he still has the equalizer.
Yeah, and EDG, of course, with this late game team comp, they just want to capitalize on situations where they can rotate around the map effectively. As Clearlove gets aggressive on the Aqua Prison, going to go wide. Cacao now manages to trap to the... Actually, the ultimate getting stopped early. The Wild Growth to come through. Rookie taking so much damage there in the backline. He's going to get finished off by Deft. He has the reset, can jump in if he wants to, but not going to. Nice equalizer to try and stop the assault. But Deft is up here, gets caught by the Aqua Prison and takes a lot of damage, but it's not going to be quite enough.
Yeah, Clearlove's just so tanky on that Nunu. He took so much focus fire, did not fall down. They picked up the exit kill on Rookie, and it should be the first dragon in the game for EDG.
Yeah, they did very well. The Consume going to be here as well to keep Clearlove alive as he tanks this one up very easily. 7-2 now in kills in favor of EDG at this 16-minute mark, and 5,000 gold exactly is the lead as Deft makes his way down here. Kid might be in a bit of trouble. He's going to use that Valkyrie just to get the heck out of there. I think that was actually the Buster Shot that sort of made him hug the wall a little bit.
Yeah, it was the Buster Shot coming out from Deft. They was hoping to get the mini stun and go for an assassination kill. Remember, he has double shields coming out of Jano and Lulu. So safe, let alone the Wild Growth that will eventually come in. It's definitely a protect the AD carry comp coming out here. Deft, though, has been kind of eating too many bubbles for his own safety right here.
Yeah, he's definitely excited about those ones, and Kitties has been on point as far as his placement's concerned. Pokemon now trying to get back into this lane. 50 CS down. 0-4-0 against a 4-0-2 Nah. Koro is so far ahead.
But I mean, that's a 17-minute plan from EDG to completely dismantle this, I guess, sub-top laner, you'd say, in Pokemon. They've been focusing on him. He doesn't have his dual Magic Pen power spike just yet, but he'll get there soon, even with Incidental Gold. He actually does have the gold to pick that up right now, so he will be a bit of an equalizer bot in team fights. And Rumble, when he's behind, especially if they can pick up a bit of magic resist on the EG side, sometimes he's just an afterthought. Sometimes he just, if he can never get into the front line and overheat with, say, Zonya's on his Flame Spitter, he can be really a trivial team fighter.
And we haven't mentioned Rookie too much since the beginning. Has been a little bit of a non-issue as Kitties is getting super aggressed on. Deft picks himself up the reset and wanders on out.
Yeah, flashed the Aqua Prison that time, so he knew he was going to eat it for a 5th time or so. Flashed it. Very nice aggressive play from Deft. Not always something we expect out of someone who's usually focusing on those late-game team fights, but it allows Tristana to keep going. Despite the fact we see the big power spike coming out from Kid right here, Tristana's not far behind. In fact, in terms of sheer gold, 800 gold ahead is Deft so far in this game.
And that is terrifying news for Invictus Gaming fans. Deft going to be able to potentially carry through this mid-game. It's going to be difficult because that's where that power trough does come in strong, and it's going to be the point where Invictus Gaming have to make decisive moves and pick up the map control around this game.
I mean, you say power trough, but we have to remember there is a Nunu here, and he's ahead in gold over Corki. So if once he finishes that Infinity Edge, the Blood Bowl starts running on him, he's going to skip some semblance of a power trough. Sure, it's not going to be the 3-4 item Tristana power spike, but it's going to be a relevant Tristana this whole game.
Oh my goodness, and Kid with a lot of burst damage. He's going to turn around, try and get some work done onto Deft, but he's going to get Buster Shotted away. And Kid's still doing a lot of damage.
But importantly, in every successful game we've seen Kid on this Corki, he's been grouping in the mid-game with these two items, but he's being forced to lane here despite having the Trinity Force Sorcerer's Shoes power spike that really makes Corki all about pushing structures. The fact that he's forced to lane against this Tristana is actually a big strategic win for EDG.
It is as Clearlove just going to be getting the vision around the enemy jungle.
I mean, look at the vision though. Look at this mini-map. So many red wards in the IG jungle right here. You can see IG's mindset just from the lack of wards on the map. They feel like they've already lost.
Yeah, they're just getting stifled now as well. You can see that EDG complete vision control as Rookie tries to remove one of the wards that are on the map, but that is nothing in comparison to the vision that they have, and especially in comparison to the lack of vision that Invictus Gaming has at this stage of the game.
I mean, there's no pink wards down whatsoever for IG, which at this level is almost inexcusable. At least have super defensive pink wards so you can at least have the assurance of mind that, all right, at least I know for sure that this zone is safe. At this point, they don't know anything.
They certainly don't. You can see there's actually 3 pink wards in the river here for Invictus game for EDG. So having a lot of defensive vision. This dragon coming up in another 2 minutes. And you have to think that EDG are just going to have that one on a silver platter.
Yeah, finally, we see a couple of backs right here. 2 pink wards in the inventories from IG. That's the start of something. You need to get those 3 or 4 defensive pink wards down, and then every time you win a fight or you go even in engagement, you move your pink ward line up. You move it more and more aggressively as you do better in this game. But to have none on the map is just not acceptable.
Yeah. That being said, Cacao now does have that Sightstone completed, as Clearlove has had that one for quite some time. Of course, been relatively ahead here as James Bond on this Nunu. Kitty's going to try and clear out some vision. Not going to find that ward right there, and Invictus Gaming just trying to claw their way back into this one. And it's not something that should be said of this particular team comp.
It's a worrying trend of Cacao so far that he did so well against those lower ranked teams, but first against Vici and now against EDG, he's been really struggling to be relevant in the jungle.
Yeah, hasn't found his way in. And of course, he just got counter-jungled very effectively in the early stages of this game by Clearlove, setting up for that Grom steal and then having his blue buff stolen over and over again. Just really put him behind to the point where it was very difficult for this Jarvan to make anything happen.
Well, just as a much heralded jungler to actually face 2 opponents worth respecting, of course, Dandy on the side of Vici, now Clearlove on the side of EDG, he's been found wanting a little bit, so he's going to have to regroup. Maybe he can make something out of this game, but specifically going into the next game, I want to see some of that Cacao swagger, that famous Cacao jungle pathing that allows him to be so relevant in the early game, coming out for him later in this series.
Yeah, he's just known as such a powerful offensive jungler that when you see him on the defense like this, you can see just how out of his element he is. But we'll see whether they can turn it around. They have managed to pull back some vision control, especially over their bottom side of the map as the red buff does come up for Invictus Gaming, and they are going to be able to pick up this blue as well. So Rookie, now at 200 CS, has kept up relatively well, but this dragon, that's definitely EDG's.
Yep, Clearlove's going to secure that objective. Def's even happy to go bot lane and keep farming. He's basically significantly ahead in items on Kid, and this is probably the first time I've seen see Clearlove and going in aggressively.
Yeah, Kitty's taking a lot of work. Ooh, the Aqua Prison not going to land. Evan Flow's going to land on a Nico, but Deft comes in with the crit. Clearlove gets caught by the fish, but he's so tanky. Rookie up with that playful trickster, tries to get out with some smooth moves, but here's Koro. Rookie gets walloped and then thrown with ice. And Invictus Gaming just falling left, right, and center. Oh, that Gnar was huge versus 2 members, stunned up for a long time. Koro may sacrifice himself here, but you can see that Glitter Lance doing so much work. Deft has found his way in, picks up Cacao as well, and Kitties is going to fall. Look at that crit damage and the shields.
And the only reason that fight had any semblance of being even, Deft wasn't even grouped for that last fight. He went bottom lane to push the wave out, came back, got the double. They're going to go and get this inner turret right here. And EDG are walking all over Invictus Gaming.
They very much are. 23 minutes into this game, a 10,000 plus gold lead. No turrets taken as we see the replay.
So this is a really long fight. The teleport coming in from Koro here is excellent. So the first kill goes down for Deft. Fizz is using all his damage on Clearlove, which never is an optimal strategy right here. And just watch Deft. The Koro's engage is very smart, but Deft is free hitting this whole fight. They DPS down Rookie, and I guess IG think, all right, everyone's going to back away. You look at the mini-map, I mean, Deft's pinging down bottom. He just wants to go to a turret. And that's why we see the huge Gnar ultimate coming in right here. Deft's not grouped. He finally comes in late. Cacao dies to 3 autos, and Kid, nothing he can do.
Yeah, there's the flash static Shiv proc to pick him up. The last kill there, and EDG definitely asserting their dominance on this game as we see Koro just clearing out this top wave, throwing boomerangs at it as it were. Now 100 CS in the lead. 0-5-0 for Pokemon against 4-0-6 on Koro. And I think that Koro shouldn't get Gnar. He's just so comfortable on this champion. You saw how perfect that last Gnar ultimate was. He's just doing fantastic things on this champion.
And just looking down the scoreboard is depressing viewing for anyone. I mean, the one thing you can say about Kid right here is he actually had his Trinity Force and Soul Shoes at a very good par time, but this is probably the first time that I've seen those 2 core items finished on a Corki, and there being 0 turrets down for a team. They don't have one single turret down. The only objective they've managed to claim so far, IG, was the first dragon, which they exchanged for that turret dive up top.
Well, Clearly actually going to potentially face check, but not going to care about it as Kitties takes so much damage from Deft. Level 13, Tristana starting to do work, picks up the kill, gets the reset, walks around the tidal wave here as well as Cacao takes a bunch of damage, but it looks like Invictus Gaming are potentially going to be able to get out of this one as Clearlove doesn't have Blood Boil on himself just yet. This kid's going to make it over that wall with the Valkyrie.
Yeah, Clearlove has no cares in the world. Happy to stand at the front, tank up as many skill shots as possible. He was gleefully accepting the Shark in the previous fight just because if he's the one eating it, then the rest of his team's going to be doing the damage behind him.
Certainly is. See that tower just getting melted under the weight of Deft's auto attacks, powered up by that BF sword and all of that extra attack speed and damage coming through from Janna and, of course, Nunu. This comp really starting to come into its own at this stage.
It's just an embarrassment of Richmond's for everyone on the EDG side right here. Kid has done very capably. He's doing fine. His item power is fine. But, I mean, you can even look at Rookie and say, all right, his CS is good. He's got Zhonya's and the Lich Bane. He's team fight relevant, but no kills on the board whatsoever, barring Kid's 2. And EDG looking massive in every lane.
And EDG now have set up their vision around the Baron instead of the Dragon here, wanting to go for that one as soon as possible so they can just take this game over. And you can see Clearlove really wanted to do some work because he's got that Consume. The Consume Smite combo, they're not going to lose this Baron.
12,000 is the gold read right here. They're actually in vision of IG, so we could potentially see a big team fight coming ahead. The Baron's down to 3,000 health.
Yeah, Baron going down so incredibly fast. The Equalizer comes in, but it's not enough. In fact, Tristana picks that one up. Rookie gets caught here, but Koro's going to eat a bubble for his trouble as Pokemon just around the side sort of finds himself a little bit out of position at this stage. Maybe caught, forced to use that flash. Howlingale not going to find him, though.
Equalizer basically tickling at this point. They already have the completed Aegis into a Locket upgrade right here. It's doing trivial damage with just those 2 items here. This Pokemon, you have to say strategically, EDG has completely outplayed IG.
Certainly have. Rookie is going to find Clearlove, but he's got so much tanky stats just flashing out of the way. There's a nice Cataclysm, but the Absolute Zero going to get stopped immediately by a nice Q from Rookie. As Koro tries to do some work, and Rookie knows that he can't aggress on that now. He has to get the heck out.
No, especially not with the super minions, of course, coming from that Baron buff right here. Mako and Deft, I mean, Mako's been very good right here. It's a different flavor of support. We've seen mostly the engaged supports coming out of Mouse, whereas we're seeing the more defensive support coming out of Janna right here. And this is why you trust Deft in these situations. It's if you give him the tools to carry, that boy, if he doesn't have a really bad laning phase, he'll carry.
Yeah, the Tidal Wave coming through just to try and zone Pawn here, but he's doing so much work. The Wild Growth on himself, trying to flash out of the way of that Urchin Stripe. It gets slowed down by the Trickster. Another beautiful Aqua Prison, and Pawn does survive for a little bit longer than normal, but Deft, he's in this top lane. He's just pushing relentlessly, and they're going to get an inhibitor out of this regardless of the trade.
At this point, IG just looking to improve their KDAs right here. They're happy to let Deft split push.
And you can see the fight breaking out in the bottom lane as well. It's a decent Monsoon from Nico to get everyone out of there, but Pokemon's falling so quickly. Look at Koro, so much damage. And he can just tank for days. That bounce to come through. Now chasing Kitties. Has that high perform in that little Gnar. And Kitties is just getting destroyed while Deft takes down the entire base.
I mean, IG's thrown in the towel here. That much is clear. You see the base just going down. Kid's not even interested in harassing him because he knows they have no chance. And EDG have completely dominated Invictus Gaming.
And that was just an absolute dismantlement of the Invictus Gaming lineup. And this is the 6-0 squad that we were talking about before, and just unable to stand up to the raw power and just strategic, just betterness. They're just better.
Strategic betterness.
Yeah, okay, admittedly it's late in the day, Papa Smithy, and I am struggling to find the words to describe just how much better EDG look like in that game.
Just EDG, when they're on form, when they're hitting on all cylinders, they're so smart at judging a team's weakness and exploiting it. And it was all about Pokemon this game. They identified that Pokemon on that Rumble was someone they could isolate, and if they isolate him early, he would have no impact. And this is a Rumble that finishes a game, a 30-minute game, 0-6-0. Like, with the Equalizer not even being able to get an assist, lets you know just how shut out IG were. And let's go to a replay to really start to see some of the flavor of this game. So this is still very early right here. A nice gold lead for EDG, but we'll roll the clip. It looks like standard laning, but of course we see on the minimap a lot's coming ahead. The bubble and then the ultimate onto Def. He basically gets DPS down instantly, but Kid goes so aggressive to pick up the kill that he falls to the absolute zero coming from Nunu. And this is where Pawn coming into the fight is going to change things. Koro's teleport is important. Pokemon's teleport is completely wasted. He didn't even use the equalizer here because he realized it would have so little effect on the team fight. So it's just that rotational play. They were always in the best position to use their tools. Koro, you don't give this guy Gnar. He's an unbelievable Gnar player, not taking away his ability in other champions. He's definitely been the overachiever of the LPL, the player to step up the most in the LPL so far this season. And IG, they just threw in the towel. They gave up.
They did, and they gave up probably halfway through that game, but we'll see whether they can turn it around, get their morale back, because we are going to have our final game of the day coming up between Invictus Gaming and Edward Gaming, and can IG bite back?